Welcome to Iraqi Dinar Update, your go-to source for the latest news, expert insights, and real-time developments on Iraq's currency, economy, and financial reforms. Whether you're a long-time investor or just curious about the dinar, you're in the right place. The Republic of Iraq stands at a critical juncture in the transformation of its monetary and financial system. This transformation, which has been steadily unfolding over the past several years, is reaching a phase where structural shifts are becoming both necessary and inevitable. One of the most pressing aspects of this transformation involves Iraq's currency, specifically the transition from a dollar-dependent transactional economy to one that functions predominantly in dinar terms. This evolution is not simply a matter of administrative policy. It is a multifaceted process with geopolitical, economic, and systemic consequences. In the recent past, Iraq's domestic economy and commercial transactions have been heavily dependent on the US dollar. This dollarization, while offering short-term convenience and international purchasing power, has also resulted in long-term constraints on Iraq's economic sovereignty. This dependency has left the country vulnerable to external monetary policies, foreign sanctions, and the global dollar liquidity cycle, factors outside of Iraq's control that nonetheless shape its internal economic realities. With a significant portion of imports, large-scale contracts, remittances, and financial settlements being priced and executed in US dollars, the role of the Iraqi dinar has been relatively marginalized, serving mainly for public sector wages and domestic petty trade. However, this long-standing dollar-centric economic model is no longer sustainable under the current trajectory of regional and global monetary policy shifts. Notably, the United States government, via the U.S. Treasury and its Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, has increasingly taken measures to monitor and restrict the international flow of dollars, especially into jurisdictions where compliance with global anti-money laundering (AML) and counterterrorism financing (CFT) standards is seen as insufficient. Iraq has been under such scrutiny, particularly as certain local banks have come under suspicion for facilitating illicit finance or operating with insufficient transparency. Consequently, over the last 2 years, there has been a progressive tightening of dollar liquidity entering Iraq. While this began as a regulatory effort to bring Iraqi banking operations up to international standards, it has resulted in a sharp decline in available dollars within the domestic market. This dollar scarcity has not only affected currency traders and businesses engaged in imports, but has also placed pressure on the Central Bank of Iraq, CBI, to adapt. The government and the central bank, facing this growing pressure, have started to take more decisive steps toward de-dollarization and the promotion of the dinar as the primary currency for settlement and valuation of goods and services. Given these developments, commercial transactions in Iraq are increasingly expected to reflect the real effective exchange rate, RER, of the Iraqi dinar rather than continue to revolve around a static or artificially supported nominal exchange rate tied to the US dollar. The RER, by definition, adjusts a currency's value based on relative price levels and inflation differentials between a country and its major trading partners. It offers a more accurate depiction of a currency's true purchasing power. For Iraq, transitioning toward an economy where prices, trade, and contracts are anchored in dinar terms that reflect its RER would represent a fundamental shift toward realism and sustainability in monetary policy. But reaching a state where the RER becomes the guiding framework for the dinar requires more than just a policy pronouncement. It involves gearing up institutions, commercial sectors, and public entities for a systemic transition. This gearing up process includes technological upgrades in the banking sector, enhanced compliance with international standards, improved data transparency, and the establishment of clear frameworks for foreign exchange management. Furthermore, businesses need time to adapt to new norms in pricing and settlement. These shifts involve education campaigns, contractual recalibrations, renegotiation of terms with international suppliers, and the development of risk hedging tools for currency fluctuation. Such preparation will take time. Therefore, Iraq is expected to remain in this preparatory phase, this gearing period, for a while before a full transition takes place. During this time, one might witness parallel pricing systems or hybrid settlements where both dollars and dinars are accepted, but with a clear trajectory toward full dinarization. The Central Bank of Iraq, in cooperation with the Ministry of Finance and international partners such as the International Monetary Fund, IMF, is already working to lay the groundwork for such a transition. For example, increased use of digital payment systems, biometric identification in banking, e-invoicing platforms, and real-time auditing software are being introduced to enhance transparency and traceability of funds within the economy. This change could have far-reaching geopolitical implications as well. Iraq's economic alignment would become more autonomous and less tethered to U.S. monetary policy. While the United States remains a key strategic partner, Iraq's ability to assert control over its monetary environment could improve bilateral negotiations and reduce external vulnerabilities. In parallel, increased use of the dinar would make it easier for Iraq to deepen trade ties with non-Western countries such as China, India, Turkey, and neighboring Arab states, especially as these nations seek to diversify their trade settlements away from the US dollar. However, such a transition is not without risk. One of the biggest concerns is inflation. If the transition is not managed carefully, and if the dinar is allowed to float too early without sufficient market depth and trust, there could be significant depreciation, leading to cost-of-living spikes and public discontent. To mitigate such risks, the central bank must ensure adequate reserves, clear communication, and contingency mechanisms during the process. Looking ahead, the gradual reduction in dollar inflows, whether by policy, sanctions, or broader shifts in global finance, has set in motion a chain of events that is difficult to reverse. The pressure on Iraq to reform and rely more heavily on its own currency has become systemic. While the transition is not instantaneous, it is now virtually inevitable. Iraq must use this preparatory phase to build robust institutions, restore public confidence, and put in place the safeguards needed to ensure that the eventual shift to RER-based pricing and dinar settlements does not cause economic disruption but instead serves as a catalyst for long-term stability and growth. The people of Iraq, businesses large and small, government agencies, and international partners must all play their part in this endeavor. The pathway to a dinar-centric commercial landscape is complex, but it offers a promise: the possibility of monetary sovereignty, economic resilience, and integration into a balanced and multipolar global financial system. Thanks for tuning into Iraqi Dinar Update. If you found this content helpful, be sure to like, subscribe,